Before we begin, I have a few things to say. First off, my channel blew up recently, so thank you for all the subscribers. Second, here's a new look. Third, new layout. Anyway, let's get into it.
The year is 1293. Mongol armies of Kublai Khan of the Yuan dynasty have failed to conquer the Indonesian archipelago. To give some context, the invasion went quite well at first, as the response by the current Javanese kingdom went a bit like this.
Become our vassal, twink, or we'll sack you so hard you'll become Russia. Yeah, okay. Oh. Well, that went smoother than expected. Just ask Ligma. Ligma ball.
This was futile though, as their expedition was foiled by their army being ambushed and slaughtered by what was thought to be their Indonesian ally, Raden Wijaya. When the Mongol army retreated, Raden Wijaya would take this opportunity to found a new empire out of the ashes of whatever was left of the island of Java, in a city he would name Majapahit, named after the bitter fruits that inhabited the area. Luckily enough, the Mongols would never return, as the Mongol Khans were too busy managing their own overstretched empires. Thus Raden Wijaya would be gifted with a relatively peaceful rule, only needing to put down rebellions and manage reforms. He would die in 1300, and his son Jayanagara would take his place as king. Jayanagara's rule was much less successful, as historians describe his rule as fruitless and detrimental to the empire, as most of his rule wasn't even to manage his empire, but sleeping with as many women as possible, even seducing his cousins and sisters, and wasting the royal treasury on things like Pornhub Premium for his sick desires. After the particularly brutal Kuti rebellion, Jayanagara would be chased from his capital into the forest, where one of his bodyguards, Gajah Mada, would take control. Gajah Mada would crush the rebellion, and with the help of the weak King Jayanagara, he would give himself power over the empire as Majapahit, Prime Minister. From here on out, Gajah Mada would be running the show for decades, with nothing but his own baseness and red pillness. Jayanagara would be assassinated in 1328 by his physician, and Gajah Mada would appoint rulers that suited his needs. The Majapahit Empire, under the influence of Gajah Mada and his appointed rulers such as Tribhuwana Tunggadewi and Hayam Wuruk, would flourish into its highest point of culture, military might, and territorial expansion, and a mix of Hinduism and Javanese culture would dominate as the mainstream faith in not just its borders, but other empires and kingdoms all over the world, thanks to its ocean-born culture of trade and commerce, which spread its influence further. After the death of Gajah Mada though in 1364, and the death of Hayam Wuruk, arguably the best ruler of the empire in 1384, the empire would start rapidly declining, in other words going through what I like to call the Basel syndrome. Weak rulers would give way to territories and vassal states seceding and coming under the sphere of influence of the newly risen Ming dynasty. The final nail in the coffin would be in 1405, as the Paragreg civil war between the successors of Hayam Wuruk caused much unrest and devastation to their territories, and the rise of Islam gaining more and more influence in the periphery of the empire's provinces, weakening the empire to the point of no return. The Majapahit Empire would officially fall in 1478, as Islamic influences would slowly dominate the archipelago with trade ports and newly founded kingdoms under Ming protection. A confederation of Islamic states such as the Sultanate of Demak would rally to conquer their weakened empire. The only remnant of the Majapahit Empire after the Muslim invasion of Java was the royal family, who fled to Bali, where it would become one of the last vestiges of Hindu and ancient Javanese culture in Indonesia for centuries to come. Even though the sources of its history are scarce, as Muslim and Christian colonists would destroy much of the chronicles and history books of the past, it still presides in the minds of the Indonesian, and especially the Javanese people.
Thank you for watching. If you want more videos like this, I recommend you like and subscribe, as I'll be doing more videos about lesser known kingdoms and empires of the ages all over the world. So I hope you enjoyed, for this has been the untold history of the Majapahit Empire.